Do you batch your matcha? I've seen so many opinions about this lately about whether or not it's considered low quality to batch your matcha in a cafe. Specifically, I've seen a lot of comments from customers saying that when they see cafes that are batching their matcha, that it is not worth a higher price. So do we have to whisk every single matcha drink by hand? What is the best way to decide? I think a blind taste test is always the best way to decide most things when it comes to a cafe's menu. Yesterday, I prepped both of these matchas. I prepped one in the blender and one with a hand whisker, and they've been sitting now in the fridge for 24 hours. Now I'm going to make a hand whisked one to order, and I'm going to taste all three of them blind to see if I can taste the difference. All three of these matchas are using the same matcha, which is Then and Now Matcha from Spirit Tea. I've prepped them all with the same amount of matcha to water ratio, using cold water to prep the matcha. And now I'm going to prep them into lattes to see if I can taste the difference. So as y'all know, my partner works for Spirit Tea, so I'm uniquely capable of being able to put this test on today. So my ratio today is 2 grams of matcha to 40 grams of cold water. I'm going to prep it here in my traditional matcha bowl. Is it a chawan? A chasen? I love this matcha. I drink it frequently. Maybe I'm a little biased. Okay, hot take, and Trisha's totally gonna disagree with me, but I don't think you need to sieve your matcha before you whisk it. The way I was taught to prevent clumps is just by putting a tiny bit of water at a time, whisking slowly in little circles just to make a paste, and making that paste ensures that there are no clumps. After I feel like I've gotten the right consistency, then I add a little bit more water and do the traditional whisk in like a W formation to get it frothy. I think there are pros and cons to batching your matcha. I think one pro is that obviously it's a lot quicker in service. So if you are selling a lot of matcha during the day, which let me tell you, some of these LA shops are just, man, cranking out the matchas. It makes it a lot easier for service. I also feel like batching the recipe ensures consistency across the board. When you have to measure water and input every single time and measuring how much you're putting in each cup, then it's ensuring that everyone really legitimately is putting the same amount in every single time. I've noticed when shops are hand whisking, they're actually not measuring the water, they're just kind of eyeballing it. And it means it can taste different depending on who's making the matcha. I also noticed that when people whisk matcha by hand, they're using a teaspoon to measure the matcha. They're not necessarily weighing the grams. And of course, we know that weighing grams means it's going to be more consistent as well. I've also seen a ton of comments online saying that the blender ruins the matcha, and I don't know if that's true, and I'm not sure if it's agitation that people feel or is it just a perception. I think hand whisking it with a bamboo whisk adds a lot of agitation as well. This is nice and frothy. Ooh, perfect. Also, if you come over to our house, we have the most beautiful teaware. Okay, in order to do a blind taste test, I have to mark the bottom of my glasses here. I am a mason jar millennial, never giving it up. This was the blender matcha. Nothing is really sticking to the bottom. It's pretty mixed up, although I do see quite a few clumps. This was made with an electric hand whisk, and it's funny because I see as I'm tipping it over that I am seeing a big clump at the bottom. That's so interesting. I'm just gonna shake it up. Speaking of agitation, I don't know. I feel like there probably is some science to agitation, just like there is with coffee. So this is number 3. Oh, did I measure out the water? I don't think I did. Wait a minute, I'm gonna redo this real quick. I'll be right back. I very obviously have ADD. Let's do this one more time, shall we? These videos are so hard to make. I'm just trying to help people. Okay, I know I made this one right. Funny enough, in my own cafe, I would have never considered batching because I was also shown this way of doing it, and I don't feel like it ever really affected service. It does kind of make a splattery mess though. When I did move on to managing like multi-location, we moved to the hand whisk, which was fine, except they're constantly breaking all the time. Even like super nice ones we would buy, they would definitely get broken in service very, very frequently. Gotta mix it until I can't remember what they are anymore. Can you guess which one was which? So I normally drink protein milk, but today I'm just gonna use regular whole milk so that I get the full effect. I'm going to pour until the 1 cup line on the mason jar, which is 8 ounces. Okay, so far I don't see a big difference in color, which I'm really surprised because as matcha sits in water, it actually oxidizes and turns like a really not nice green color. But like I said, these have been sitting in the fridge for 24 hours and I don't really see a big difference in color. Trisha, you want to be a guest judge? Here's matcha 1, no syrup. We're gonna do 1 round of no syrup, and then I'm actually gonna add a little syrup in there just to see if it changes. They definitely taste slightly different. I'm gonna let Trisha come and try these and see what she thinks. I like this one the most. Do you not?
No.
Which one do you like?
I think I like this one.
Okay, I think that's in second place for me. If you don't know by now, the strawberry syrup from Proper is my absolute fave, and I drink it probably every day. Maybe trying to cut back. Why don't we get a pour stopper thing? Wait a minute, I have one right here. We wouldn't be true coffee professionals if we didn't have the syrup spout. What do they call these? I should mix them up again because we're already biased. I'm gonna put an E on this one, and I'll put a T on this one. Okay, I think that's mixed up enough. Can I put ice in them? Be right back. All right. Trisha, you wanna come try? I do kind of like this one,
This
though.
one is more balanced between sweetness and matcha. These ones are a little bit too sweet for me.
They all have the same syrup, same milk, same amount of matcha.
I don't know. I kind of like this one.
You like this one?
Yeah.
This one does taste very milky and sweet, though.
This one's mine.
This one has more like, next I want to look at color, because one of the issues with matcha is, like we said, it oxidizes and it might get a funky color. Do you notice a color difference in any of these?
Can I hold it up? I feel like
But just think of it as a customer. That one's a little bit darker green. This one's a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you? These look similar.
This is slightly darker. It's not bad.
Time for the big reveal. What's the result? Oh my gosh, no way. Matcha number 2 is the one that we both liked the most. No way. That is so interesting. So what are the results from our little experiment here? I'm shocked. So the one that we tasted without syrup, that was Trisha's favorite. But the one that Trisha tasted with syrup, her favorite, was actually my favorite from the very beginning, which is the batched matcha that was whisked by hand and sat in the fridge for 24 hours. The one that we liked the least was the one that was batch made in the blender 24 hours ago. I literally thought that the one that I whisked today would be very clearly distinguishable between all of the matchas. Even when you do batch matcha, I wouldn't necessarily want to keep it in the fridge for 24 hours. But as it shows today, at least with this specific type of matcha, it really actually does taste okay 24 hours later. And we, 2 professionals, couldn't really taste the difference, especially when you add syrup. I definitely think if you're trying to make this decision in your cafe, you need to try it yourself with your team. Get the team together to do a blind taste test. It's always so much fun, and you always learn so much about your palate, about perception, about bias. I highly recommend trying it when you're trying to make menu decisions. Also, props to Spirit Tea for always supplying us with the most delicious matcha. I'm really so shocked. They've been in the fridge 24 hours, but we both didn't like the blender one. But I think that there's clumps in there, so I feel like it wasn't fully. I did. I sifted it and sifted it too when I was pouring it out of the blender. And since I know y'all love my fit checks, peace out.